Well, good morning, everybody. We got a nice big crowd here, so we're a little bit after 10 o'clock. I think the whole presentation with Q&A might take 45 minutes to an hour. So thank you so much for being on this call. The appetite for this conversation was really high here. At TTX, we do quite a few events, normally in person and normally leveraging the Cleveland Indians, but with COVID and such, we've become obviously a much more remote marketing and an event-focused company. So thank you all for joining here. The chat feature will be on throughout the presentation, so please feel free to take advantage of that. We'd love to hear any Q&A. It's going to be a pretty interactive demo presentation anyway. But a little bit about TTX. We've been around for 40 years. We're a technology company. We had our foundation and our roots built on voice solutions. About 15 years ago, we migrated our core business from traditional phone systems into voice over IP. We've been a traditional Mitel, ShoreTel on-premise customer, or partner rather. So we have lots of experience in voice. About 10 years ago, we moved out of just being a voice company into an entire technology solutions provider. So what I mean by that is we are a managed services provider. We can do complete outsourcing of one's IT environment out of our network operations center in Strongsville, or IT projects that might be needed, backup and disaster recovery solutions, migration to 365, and the likes. So a full suite of offerings. But today we're super proud to be presenting with 8x8. They've been a partner of ours for about 3 to 4 years. We were very slow adapters to cloud voice initially because the voice quality and the relationship and such just weren't there for us to feel comfortable with putting our brand associated with something that was kind of outsourced to a cloud provider. But we've since overcome those obstacles. The technology has gotten better, and we found 8x8. We love 8x8. We have a great partnership with them. For us, technically, people matter is our slogan, and that speaks to our own people, speaks to our customers, but also to our partners. And they've been a great partner of ours. Their product is great, and they just check all the boxes. So we've been doing that for, like I said, 3 or 4 years. We're well versed in taking 8x8 to the marketplace, and we have some unique packages around that too from a deployment standpoint. So that's us in a nutshell. Dan Ring from 8x8 is going to be kind of leading the charge along with Brian Bonebrake from the 8x8 side. Again, interactive Q&A. And then Patrick Schultz will be wrapping up again around 45 minutes to an hour. So thanks so much, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Hey, thank you, Nate. I appreciate that. Just want to make sure that you guys can hear me. I'm going to turn my video camera on as well.
I can hear you, Dan.
Super. So my name's Dan Ring. I work with 8x8. I'm the channel manager for the region of Ohio, Michigan, and Indiana. And we sell principally through channel partners. And I work with TTX, who is the best of the best in terms of our channel program. We are a leader in the UCaaS industry. UCaaS, Unified Communications as a Service, meaning we put a whole bunch of communication functions in one place, in one user interface to make it easy for our end users. We work with small businesses, small retail organizations, all the way up to some of the largest corporations in the world. We provide services in 157 different countries around the world. We're up to about 1,700 employees. And for this fiscal year, we're going to do about $500 million in revenue in UCaaS and then contact center as a service as well. I do have one slide that I want to show you that I think speaks to how much work has changed over the last 18 months. And I don't know if I need to be promoted or what, Brian. I'm clicking screen share and it says host disabled participant screen sharing. So can you fix me?
That would be
perfect. Got it. So I just wanted to share one slide with you guys that I thought was really interesting. And that is this whole evolution of work from home, work from anywhere. Prior to COVID, about our surveys told us that about 3% of full-time employees worked remotely. In the early stages of COVID, that was north of 60%. And now today, most of us are trying to figure out, how do we do both? Some companies have gone all remote. Some companies have gone half and half. Others have gone back to the office. And we want to show you today how our service works in all three ways, so that whether your people are working from the office, whether they're working from the road, or whether they're working from home, the service functions the same way. And we're able to communicate both with people outside the organization and people inside the organization. So because this is something that we're all trying to figure out and we're trying to get better at every day. And we're here to help with that, as is TTX. So rather than go through a bunch of slides, Brian and I are going to spend some time walking through a series of questions. And let me figure out how to use Zoom. I don't use Zoom very often, so I got to somehow, Brian, how do I go to full screen here?
Yeah, you just have to stop your screen share. It should be at the top.
Stop my screen share should be at the top. Okay. Is that it? No. Sorry, everyone. Format for today is I'm going to walk Brian through a series of questions that customers ask us all the time. And I log these questions. I think they're really important. And I want to invite you to interrupt at any time. Raise your hand, throw in a chat in the chat queue. But very first question, Brian, what are all the ways that I can make or take a phone call? Do I need a desk phone?
Yeah, great question. So with each and every one of our licenses, from you'll hear me mention X series licenses. We have actually 8 different licenses in our portfolio, which might sound like a lot, but it's actually to help us right size the license and thus the cost of that license to that specific person's persona and job responsibilities. So, but with each one of our licenses, X1 and above, you get access to 3 different devices. So you get a desktop version of our solution, a mobile app version of our solution, and each user can even have a desk phone if they'd like. And we have actually 1-to-1 feature parity between the desktop app and the mobile app. So regardless of what experience you're looking for, you're going to be able to communicate the way you want to wherever you're sitting.
And so, Brian, can you show us how to make a call using the desktop app?
All right, we're going to go ahead and share my screen. And what we're going to be greeted with is the 8x8 desktop application. I'll actually even minimize this here for you so you can have a little bit better idea of what the window is. In here, you're going to find all of our features. Being that we own our entire stack, you're going to see a pretty unique experience compared to some of our competitors out there. The fact that we're just going to stay in this solution, regardless of where we're at, be it call recordings or meetings or chat or looking at our directory or leveraging the phone. And so making calls, and I can actually do this now because we are in a Zoom meeting. It's super simple. We actually support point and click, copy paste, Chrome extensions for click to dial, CRM integrations for click to dial. And one of my favorite features is we also support highlight to dial. So if you have a sales team that's cranking through a list of individuals that they need to call, they can actually just highlight the phone number, and then leveraging a keyboard quick command, it'll initiate that dial as well. But once you're in a call, I'm actually going to call my cell phone here. Go ahead and answer it, mute in a couple of spots here. Everybody should still hear me, correct? It didn't hijack my audio?
Can hear you just fine, Brian.
Perfect.
Yep.
And then what you're going to see here is all of the call controls that you'd expect from a traditional calling solution. You're going to have transfer capabilities, both warm and cold, hold features. You're going to see a park, as well as the option to record if that's activated. You can actually turn that on or off depending on your business model. And then you can even add additional callers, so you can merge in calls. And one nice thing about that too is that originator could actually drop out of the call, and the 2 people that were merged together can stay connected and stay talking. We also have the ability to escalate this communication. So if voice isn't enough, or I need to send them a quick message with a link to a document or a picture, I can quickly message that person as well, or I can hit this Meet Now button and escalate that to a video chat. So if they're internal to your organization and leveraging 8x8, that'll actually escalate right to a meeting. And then if you want to bring other people in that are non 8x8 customers that may be on a mobile or desktop experience, you can actually send them a message with a meeting link and escalate that to a meeting as well. But
Brian,
I'm going to go ahead and end that call real quick.
So Brian, we have three potential devices: the desktop app on your computer, the mobile app, and my actual desk phone.
Correct.
Can I move calls between those? So take, for instance, I'm on the phone with Brian Schultz, and he's gone on and on and on and on, and I need to run out the door and get in the car. Can I switch? It's more likely that he's going to be on the phone with me, and I'm going to be running on and on.
But regardless of who's running on and on and on, you're going to be able to flip between any one of your devices. So say you initiate that call on your desktop app or your physical phone on your desk, and you need to take off, simply opening the mobile app or the desktop app, because it can switch between any three of those devices in any which way that you choose. You'll actually be prompted, if it's the desktop app or the mobile app, to say, hey, you're connected on another device. Do you want to flip the call? Hit yes, and it will actually flip the call right over to that device, and the person on the other end of the line is none the wiser that you've been switched over.
And how do I get my voicemails?
Yeah, voicemails are great. So we can deliver this in, I like to say, whatever way you want to skin the cat there, we can deliver it. So you'll find here in the app, we have contextual quick commands. So depending on where you're at in the application, you're going to see these little icons change, where you saw when the call section, calling or messaging that person are the two most common options. But in voicemail, it's going to be listen to that voicemail or call that person back. We fully support voicemail transcription, and this can be delivered to you via just the app with a notification. It could be just the audio if you don't want to leverage voice or transcription for whatever reason. And then we can also deliver that to you via email. So if you just want the audio delivered via email, just a notification via email, or the audio and the transcript, or just the transcript, it doesn't really matter. We have the capabilities to deliver to you how you see fit. And all of this still accessible from the mobile app.
So when I'm calling a coworker, can I tell if they're on the phone or not?
Yeah, you guys probably saw some color here splashed in to my screen. I'll make it just a little bit bigger. But that's probably easiest to see if I go to, say, like my favorites list. You can see individuals are green, or Dan is busy in a do not disturb mode. David Kandrak here, he's just busy with a red dot. And then Jamal over here, he's red with on a phone. So we actually have calendar presence integration built into this. So some of these individuals, like Dan, he's in a busy do not disturb mode. He's selected those options in his application to say, whenever I have a meeting on my calendar, whether or not it's an 8x8 meeting, put me in a do not disturb mode and mark me as busy. Versus maybe like a David or an Ilya, which just have a busy, lets people know that I am busy, but I'm not in a do not disturb mode. So my calls aren't automatically going to voicemail, and I'm not, I'm still able to bug this person if I would like to, but at least I'm getting a warning that they're busy.
Does it work the same on a desk phone?
Yeah, so on the desk phone, whether or not you're using shared line appearance or busy lamp fields, you're going to be able to see if individuals are busy on that phone. And if they're in like a do not disturb mode, for instance, like you are, and I were to call you from my desk phone, it would actually just go right to your voicemail too. So it's going to respect that behaviors regardless of your device.
So if some of our customers want to text us and we're concerned with salespeople or employees giving out personal cell phones, what are our options there? How can you help?
Yeah, so our platform is completely SMS enabled. We're actually SMS plus media enabled. We're not quite MMS today. That is a Q1 feature release that we're targeting, but we support embedded photos, meaning you're going to see the preview of the photo. And then we share links for videos and documents. To be true MMS, we need to support group text messaging, which isn't part of the platform today, but we fully support SMS through your business phone number. So you can really kind of control what your employees are giving out. So they don't have to give out a personal number. They don't have to text from a personal number because that particular person that they're interacting with only likes to text message. Well, now we can house this all in your business domain, your business number within the 8x8 solution. So you don't have to worry about those sales folks running off with their contacts, or less worry. There's plenty of creative ways out there, but less worry.
So you can send that text from either the desktop app that we're looking at now, or from the mobile app, which sits on your smartphone.
Correct. Yep. Regardless of the experience, we're going to have that feature parity.
Can you show me how, as a manager, I would send a message to everybody that works for me, that works under me?
Yeah, great question. So found here within our app is going to be our messaging solution. We have full roles-based access control and policy control as well. So if particular features or functions you're not interested in granting access to your employees, you can actually turn those off to the point where that button completely disappears from here. So if you don't want messaging in your organization, you can turn that off. If you don't want meetings for whatever reason, you can turn that off and it'll actually disappear from here. But what we see here is this IT Expo SE team was a group of myself and my boss and a couple other team members that were down in the IT Expo in Florida. You can see in this particular meeting that it's private, meaning only members of that group can participate in that conversation. It also means that it's only members of that group can discover that room. For some reason, if they're not following it and it falls way down the list and they want to find a room that they were part of, you can actually go to our search here and look for a particular room, but it's only going to show up if you're part of that group. So we have private and public rooms. So public rooms, though, are fully discoverable and joinable by anybody in your organization. So a great way to stay in touch with your team is we even have a chat here. We call it the Magnificent Seven. That's the Channel SE team for 8x8. That's where we all hang out and have our private conversations as a team. And I'm sure Dan has his own team. I'm not privy to because I'm not invited to it. But you can segment those and have even expert conversations. So you'll also see in my list a particular, sales engineering North America. That's a group where all of the sales engineers in North America for 8x8 hang out and can have technical conversations. So you can really break that up by teams. You can break it up by niche or specialty. And it's really up to you on how you segment that.
So we have a question in the chat queue. Can you demonstrate texting via SMS using the app?
Yeah, if you give me 2 seconds here, I can actually spin up a mobile emulator. I did not have that queued up, but that is not a problem.
And then the other questions in here, how does this differ from Teams calls? And how does 8x8 interface with email? This customer uses Office 365. So that plays into the next question I was going to ask you about email integration and how we can use Google, or how we can use the G Suite or Outlook to invite people to a meeting, and how we can automate that process. So we'll table that one and then address the issue of how the 8x8 app differs from Teams calls, Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, great. All great questions. We will definitely answer those. So I'm going to put 2 windows up here. On the right-hand side, you're going to see my mobile emulator. It is a little bit blurry, but that's the emulator. That has nothing to do with the app here. But I'm going to show you a text message. So I'm actually going to go ahead and find, here's Scott Bonebrake. That's just my cell phone number. I'm going to go find that same person over in the mobile experience. And I'm going to then take my cell phone here, and I'm going to send a new message to my cell phone. I should probably save myself as a contact with my work phone number. I'm smart and I thought ahead and I actually did. So I'm going to go ahead, take a photo, for instance. Let's go ahead, reverse this. Here's, millennials taking selfies, right? All right. We got the photo. I'm going to go ahead and send it to that number. What you're going to see is it'll take a second here, but then it'll populate into both the desktop app and the mobile app. And while it's doing that, I can say, the text message will go a little bit quicker than the picture will. But now you see this is an embedded photo. And then you can see above there, here is a document that was shared with me. So it's a link to a document. I can go ahead and download that document. And then above that, you actually see a video. So I took a short video. It gives you a link to that video and allows you to download it and then view that video. So this is how we're leveraging SMS plus media in both the desktop app solution and the mobile app solution. Any questions about that?
Well, looks like we hit that one. So,
Right.
So how do we differ from Teams?
It's a great question. Teams is actually what we like to consider co-opetition. We have a better together story with our 8x8 Voice for Microsoft Teams direct routing solution, where we're able to extend the reach and capabilities of Teams with both routing capabilities, country reach, as well as integrations. And then it's all not to forget to mention our contact center fully integrates into that solution. But how do we differ? The reality of the situation is that we have a superset of capabilities. We have greater granularity as far as the analytics that we can go into, the reach of our platform, as well as feature functionality. It really depends on specific use cases where you're going to want to talk about it and really understand. I always like to say, when Microsoft Teams is part of the conversation or is being currently used in an environment, it's not a commoditized sale, right? The devil's in the details there. It's really us and teams like TTX spending the time with you to understand what's important as far as workflow and capabilities. But almost on every area of the Teams app, we're going to have more feature functionality, greater depth and breadth in our ability to route, greater analytics capabilities, because you have to remember our solution was built in the cloud with all of these things in mind.
So let me make one clarification on Microsoft Teams. For those of you who are Teams users, there's a phone icon there that you can call each other. So you can call someone within your own company. It's like an employee to employee. There's also a Teams telephone system that you can buy where you light up an entirely different part of that Teams interface. So we are completely separate from the first thing, which is just kind of an inside Teams peer-to-peer call. But on the part where you actually add the phone system, you buy that phone system from Microsoft, just like you would buy an old Mitel or ShoreTel or Tataran or Telrad from TTX, and then you add services to that so that you can actually make calls. That's where we play, where we can come in under Teams and you use us to actually make the call with that Teams telephone system. So hope that makes sense. If anybody wants more information on that Teams part, we'd be happy to set up a separate meeting for that, because that's a whole different conversation. Somebody else added a question, if we can replace Zoom for video conferencing. Yes, we have a full video conferencing offer, and let's go there next. Brian, can you show how you use your calendar to invite people and automate that so that it's easy to invite people to come to a meeting?
Yeah, definitely. So what you see up on screen here is we have a full meetings capability, both in the mobile and desktop experience. I'm currently using the camera on my computer, so it's blacked out. I could actually probably just switch my camera to a different camera built into like my laptop, and then you'd see, there you go. There I am. So this is giving me a preview of the audio and the video experience prior to jumping into that meeting. But our meeting solution, we'll go ahead and turn that off so we're not seeing double me. It's fully integrated into Outlook and Google. I'll bring down my browser here, and we'll actually jump right into my calendar really quickly. I'll snag a time slot. And then with Google, it's somewhat similar to what you would do in Outlook, right? You're going to create your calendar invite as you normally would, set the day and time, add your title. But when you're ready to add your meeting details in Outlook, it's just going to be an 8x8 button in the ribbon. In Google, it's embedded right here. It may ask me to log in because I was jumping all over the place this morning. And then it's going to pre-populate based on the settings that you've configured. Several things. It's going to add the meeting to the locations field. It's going to pre-populate it with the body of the message here with a dial-in number, as well as additional dial-in numbers and a join meeting button, which is just a link to this above link. But a couple things I'll point out. One, you see this random string of digits attached to the end. We can do unique meeting links that are automatically generated through that integration. So you don't have to worry about meeting barging. So that person likes to join 5 minutes early and they barge into the previous meeting. That's not a thing with our solution. The same thing with people guessing and trying to get into your meeting space is also there. We also fully support passcodes. So if we actually go here, go down to my meeting selection, we can do the unique meeting links, which I just showed. We can also do personal passcodes for those meetings. That's the traditional, type in a 6-digit number to be able to enter that room. And then we also have a bunch of additional lobby features built right in. But the thing of it all is, if that meeting link is in the locations field of that calendar invite, it'll also populate here, both in the 8x8 desktop app, we call it Work for Desktop, and 8x8 Work for Mobile. You'll see it's a one-click join. I can really easily hover over any particular meeting and hit join, and it'll pull me right into that meeting. So I don't have to go find the calendar invite, juggle multiple apps. I can literally just come right here and hit join, regardless if it's mobile or desktop experience.
Brian, is the meetings application HIPAA compliant? And probably a better question is there any part of our application that's not HIPAA compliant?
Yeah, great question. So compliance and security is a strong focus of 8x8. It's been part of our sort of blood, if you will, from the beginning. So HIPAA compliance is probably one of our oldest compliance, and we're fully willing to work with BAAs and all parties to make sure everybody's on the same page with that. But that is one of our advantages, is our security. So we are HIPAA compliant in our entire stack. So voice, our meetings, and our chat. We actually recently got our high trust certification as well. So that medical compliance space is huge for us. Outside of that, you're going to find a bunch of additional security certifications and compliances. So we have ISO and NIST and FISMA. We're also pre-approved on boards like NASPO and PEPM. So if you do any work, or if you exist in the SLED space, so state, local education and defense markets, just know we're already pre-approved on those boards, and that can really kind of help expedite new solutions into your environment, having that trust already pre-built. And then one thing that we're really excited about is we're strongly focused on FedRAMP as well. We actually have all the precursors for FedRAMP. We just don't have the stamp yet. So we're working on getting that stamp.
So Brian, for companies who have live answer, they have a receptionist, we can give them a phone and a bunch of sidecars where they can see who's on the phone. We can give them a desktop computer interface that is built for a receptionist. It's very easy to use. What happens if somebody calls our front desk and our receptionist is busy and that person can't pick up the phone? What are the options there?
Yeah, it really depends on how you have both either or your auto attendant or call forwarding rules set up for that particular person. If during business hours, it's all calls are routed to the front office individual, and they're busy, it's going to then fail over to their call forwarding rules, which can be a forward to an auto attendant. So then that person can choose their own adventure from there and route the call as they see fit. if you don't want it to go to an auto attendant, you don't want to let somebody into the wilds of your phone system and to navigate wherever they may want to go, you can actually just have it fail over to a voicemail, or we can extend the number of lines for that particular person. So if they're leveraging a sidecar and a physical phone, we can actually support, I believe it's up to 26 or 28 different lines. So they would just be ringing in. There'd be another individual ringing in, put on hold, and until that receptionist can get to that call. If you don't want to go the full sidecar route and you want to be more digital, we can actually open our digital app up to 6 different lines to manage.
If I have multiple sites, can I have one receptionist answer calls for all of my sites?
Yeah, definitely. That's really easy to do. We can establish various sites with different routing capabilities, but have them all funneled into a single individual or single entry point if you don't want it to be an individual.
Excellent. And how hard is it to change the automated attendant?
Well,
Do
if
we
you've
have to
ever
call
filled out,
TTX to do that, or can a customer do it themselves?
so we are all about enablement. So if it's something that you're comfortable doing yourself, we have probably 100 different videos explaining how to do something 100 different ways, as well as articles. But leveraging your TTX team is going to be a great way to start with any of their solutions, right? I know they are always interested in providing a helping hand with anything like that. If that's not something that you want to do either route of those, we also have a full ticketing infrastructure. Any ad moves, changes can all be done through our ticketing infrastructure as well. You just simply submit a ticket with your request, and then a member of our team will get to that and change it. But changing it is actually really simple. I always like to make the joke, if you've ever filled out an online form or bought something off Amazon, you're going to be able to navigate our admin console with ease.
Can you show us admin console and how we would change that automated attendant? Because I have another question on admin console as well.
Yeah, definitely. Give me just 2 seconds here. I'd like to show this too, as far as our login process. So part of our story is this single platform engagement. Hopefully you've gotten that as we've moved through the 8x8 work for desktop and mobile app. But this also applies to our backend system. So with a single login, I'm a super user, super admin of this environment. So I have access to the entire backend of 8x8 or this 8x8 system. And this includes contact center and UC. This is fully controlled by roles-based access. So it's just not, hey, you get a login and now you can see everything. If you're an agent, for instance, or maybe you were just somebody pulling reports, you might just have the virtual contact center agent button when you log in, or the analytics for 8x8 work. So depending on your role, you'll be able to see more or less in here. But where we're going to talk about is admin console. Try not to get too nerdy on you, because I do live in here quite a bit. So I kind of cruise through this solution, but we've put a ton of work into making this really easy to understand with a very clear layout. So it's deceptively powerful because of that. So we were specifically talking about auto attendants. I can come in here. We can fully support I like to say it's an infinite number of auto attendants. It's a super high upper number that like nobody has ever even come close. We're talking like thousands and thousands. I used to know the number, but our largest clients have never even come close to that. I think reaching like 5 to 10% of like the total number of auto attendants. But you can come in here, quickly edit them by hitting the pencil. We make this really easy. Like I said, you have lots of descriptions, really easy to understand what's going to go into each place. Editing your schedule. So based on the time of day you're open or closed, if you have exceptions, like every third Thursday in the morning, route differently because you have an all hands meeting, and you can pre-build those holiday schedules. And then being here in the Midwest, we always like having a snow menu, right? We're snowed out, you can't come in. Well, that happens a little less because we're used to the snow up here, but it is something worth noting. You can quickly switch to an alternate schedule. And then laying that out, we fully support text-to-speech, list your own or play your own audio file. So if you have somebody with a good voice, you can go ahead and upload that, or skip playing through altogether. You can have a pass-through auto attendant. It's simply there to check, are you open or closed, and route the call differently. And then fully support IVR functions where you can route the call to a variety of solutions, including even external phone numbers if you would like.
So if folks have other questions, please put them in the chat queue or interrupt us. I'm going to go now towards how do we make changes when we hire someone and when someone leaves. I want to talk about, secondly, for employees who are working at home, how can we check up on them? How do we know that they're working? How can we make them feel a part of things? And then thirdly, I wanted to talk a little bit about reporting. Perhaps it's that customer who called in and said, hey, I called your customer service group and nobody answered. So what do we do with that? And how do we identify that? So those are 3 questions that I want to cover before we end, but let's start with old user leaves, new user comes.
Yeah, great question. So you essentially own the license, right? So say I brought up my license view. Say the person that left was on an X2 license. That's our standard business license, includes, calendar integrations. You can be a member of a call queue, and you get a free CRM integration as part of that X2 license. And this person leaves. They had an X2 license. It'll actually free up that license. So it might go from 1 assigned to 0 assigned. I know I have 3 in the pool. So I can actually add a new user in here. So we fully support manual addition 1-by-1, bulk uploads, Active Directory SCIM integration. So if you have an Active Directory environment, we can pull in all of your users to make this a lot simpler. But then if I want to create that new user and then assign a new license to them, I can simply come down here and assign a new license to that individual, just that easy. And if you need to add new licenses, maybe you're adding a new person, somebody wasn't let go and you're replacing them, you're adding a net new person, you can actually simply navigate to My 8x8 here and procure additional licenses.
So Brian, question came in about being able to block telemarketers.
Yeah, great question. So we fully support at not only it's at a user level, the ability to block numbers. You can do that through the UI. We actually have a rules-based a policy rule to be able to set up call blocks, but you can add users to a call block list. And
then someone asked a question about Knowledgebase Articles to set up automated attendance. And yes, there are Knowledgebase Articles. Actually, the best way to search 8x8 is Google. Google searches us better than we search ourselves. So we have 8x8 University out on YouTube. So there's things like that. So we'll send those 2 articles out after the call is over. And then someone else asked a question about porting. And porting is part of the service. And 8x8 and TTX will certainly help with that. It is the law, and the losing carrier has to port to us, just like we have to port to them when we're on the other end of the equations there. So any other questions about porting or blocking telemarketers? And threatening calls in general, you can block those, you can record those on the fly. A lot of things can be done with those. So Brian, talk some about, and someone asked the question, can this service be used for telemarketing? And the answer is yes. And I think Brian talked a little bit about that click on lists and various things like that can automate dials. And then you can also, so long as you own the numbers, you can even change the outbound number that you're calling from. So let's say you have a Cleveland office and a Toledo office, and you're going to make a bunch of calls where you want to look like you're calling from Toledo or a 419 area code or something like that. You can do that on a call-by-call basis.
Yep, it's easy to change your DID. You can assign multiple DIDs to a user. And the example that we give is generally you're headquartered in New York and you want to call on behalf of a branch in California, look more local. You can do that simply through here. But then also, if you're doing more progressive dialing, preview dialing, you can leverage our contact center solutions. So starting at our X6 and above, you can add on contact center with X6 and X7. And then X8 is our top tier license, and our top contact center license that includes a dialer as part of that price as well. And then another question, can we see the dial pad? So here's the dial pad in the desktop version. And then if we go to the mobile version, you're going to see, your calls, missed calls, voicemails, and recordings. But if I want to go to the dial pad, I just hit the little dial pad here, and I can simply start a dial.
So question about what is the recommended number of DIDs for 200 phone users? It would be 200 because each user can get multiple calls. We don't really tie a phone to a telecommunications trunk or to a POTS line or something like that. There's really an unlimited number of calls that can come in. So
it's slightly unlimited. Out of the box,
yeah.
Every user gets essentially 2 lines. It's not really 2 lines, essentially 2 lines, right? You're on the phone and the next call comes in, and that's going to behave accordingly. We can open that up to 6 for no additional charge, all through the digital experience. And then if you have a physical phone with a sidecar, I'd mentioned earlier, we can support up to 26 or 28 lines. And those you don't need additional DIDs. If you're having 200 users, obviously each and every user that you want to have a DID should have a DID. And then if you want additional DIDs, say for maybe a main number or a direct dial into a specific call queue or ring group, you might grab extra DIDs in those cases, but that's going to, again, depend on your particular workflow and how you want people to be able to route through your environment.
But people are never going to get it busy, even if someone's calling you, or if you're talking to someone, another call's coming in and you can see it, and a third and fourth call are coming on top of that. It's going to get picked up by voicemail, which also leads into that famous question that we always get asked. So your cloud-based telephone system, what happens when the internet goes down? And our answer to that is always, what do you want to happen? Typically, the best thing is for the automated attendant to pick that up, because we're never going to be down. We've got all these hosting centers out there. We're in the cloud. We're going to answer that call in the cloud. It'll go to the automated attendant. And then if someone dials your extension, it can ring to your mobile app. It can forward to your cell phone. Lots of different things can be done there to make sure that you're never down and you can always take a call. So for ACD, someone asked a question about ACD.
Just to add to that real quick,
yep.
I'll answer the ACD. So I am in a user. As you can see here, I'm in this Brian Bonebrake user. And down in the call forwarding rules, we can actually detect and route calls depending on certain behavior, including if internet connection is down. Most often, people will actually have that just forwarded to their personal cell phone if you still want to be able to take calls. Additionally, it defaults to voicemail, or you can have that route to another auto attendant branch or calling service. It's all up to you.
So Robin, does that answer your question? Did we hit on that one? And for contact center, that might be a whole nother discussion also. Is there a recording portal?
Yeah, great question. So found here in our desktop solution, you're going to see the call recordings. So each user, depending again on access, you can limit this. You can make it so they can't even see the call recordings. You can also configure it to record every call or have them opt in and be user controlled. It's really up to you on how you want to configure that. But I have it open to this particular user can see their call recordings. On the mobile experience, it's going to be found under the phone icon. You'll see recordings, so I can see my call recordings there. And then additionally, if you just want them to be in a central repository, make this window just a little bit bigger for everybody. Here in Admin Console, this is actually another common role that we'll see within an organization, is that they might have an administrative assistant that's job is to come in and maybe do some quality checks on sales calls or customer service calls. They could actually come here to the call recordings repository and view those call recordings. You'll also find here the meeting recordings, and that's you'll see the two different types of icons, one being sort of a voice wave, and that's just your audio recordings. And this one is, it's a triangle with dots on it. I think it's supposed to be people sitting around a table to represent a meeting, but that's a meeting recording. And so you can access all of those there as well.
So I think we've run out of time here. Patrick, Nate, is there maybe one more question you'd like us to hit, or do you think we've covered everything we need to cover?
Dan, Brian, you know, we think that this has been fantastic. This is by far the most superior webinar we've ever been a part of. So we appreciate your time, number one. Number two, this has been really valuable to even just us TTXers sitting here viewing this. We've learned a lot. So hopefully you all that are listening have learned quite a bit about 8x8, the awesome product that it is.
And Patrick, I would add one more thing. We started to get some questions about ACD and contact center. Would be happy to do a second session at some point around that and get into the weeds a little bit, because ACD and contact center agents at home is really a key topic these days. How can we be monitoring folks who are working at home? And there's really a lot of cool technology for that. So I'll kick it back to you there.
Dan, I agree 100%. And for those questions, what I'll speak to is number one, we've recorded this webinar, not only the question and answer, the voice, but we've recorded the chat portion. So we're going to be sending that out to everybody, so you have access to that, to view this at a later time, to go back through and figure this out. But one further, Dan and Brian and myself at TTX, we are here for you guys. So we want to have this format, this platform available. Webinars are an awesome public venue to have these types of conversations, but we can do one-on-one demos that are personalized to your questions, to your needs. So to talk about the ACD system, to talk about SMS texting and how that fits into a board of DD, and what type of communication you're having with the folks that you need to communicate with. So, you know, when we're here to talk about those things, and as a salesperson, you know, what I can say is after this, we are going to be reaching out to you. We're going to be following up and making sure that you have all your questions answered, and that the next steps can be met by TTX and 8x8, whatever those are. If it's just furthering the conversation, if it's setting up that individualized demo, maybe it's looking at pricing. So we're here. We're gonna you know, take those next steps to follow up with you. But you know, we want to be respectful of your time. So we appreciate you guys in attendance. Dan, Brian, we can't thank you enough. You know, this has been awesome.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
Yeah, it's been great. The questions were awesome as well. And as the TTX team had mentioned, if you want to go deep and wide with anything, let us know, and we're here for you.
Awesome. Well, thanks to everybody in attendance. We appreciate you giving us your morning. You guys be safe. Have a good rest of the week, and we'll be reaching out soon.